Good morning. Good morning. Right. Earlier in the year, we made the change increasing the salary threshold before you paid what's called the child benefit charge from £50,000 to £60,000. That was on an individual income. What we're announcing today is that a future Conservative government would calculate it on a household basis, meaning that the income in a household could be up to £120,000 before that charge was paid. And that will mean a tax cut of around £1,500 for about 700,000 families.
OK, so just explain now. So if a husband and his wife, or a wife and their husband, they can now each get a maximum salary of what? Just break the figures down so my listeners fully understand it.
So it will be so right now, up to £60,000. The proposal that we are making is that we'll now calculate that on a household basis. So income going up to 120,000, however it's split between parents, before that charge on child benefit is made.
How much is this going to cost, Minister?
About £1.3 billion come the 29 financial year.
And where will that money be found from?
That money is going to come from part of the money of us continuing to clamp down on tax evasion and tax avoidance. We think there's about £6 billion more to be had from that, and this would be 1.3 billion of it.
How do you get to the number of families? I think you said that it would be some 700,000 families. How did you get to that number?
We get to that number by looking at how many are subject to that charge at the moment. So earlier this year, we increased that salary threshold from 50,000 to 60,000, which was very popular. But we've got the data on how many pay it then above that, and that's how we've done it.
And just for my listeners who are not familiar, so they can get 40 years, how much is child allowance?
That I'm afraid I don't know. It's actually not a Department for Education policy. It's a DWP one, and I'm afraid I don't know the exact.
Sorry, is your title minister? Is your title Minister for Children?
It is Minister for Children.
And
yes,
you don't know.
But
you don't know what the child allowance is.
Well, we don't run the benefits, I'm afraid. You're right. I should have found out before I came on here.
So I have to tell you, as the Minister for Children, Families and Wellbeing, what child allowance is. What sort of job do you think you're doing here, Minister?
Well, look, I'm sorry that I don't know the amount of it.
Astonishing.
Well,
I'll tell the listeners, because they won't need it. It's £25.60 for the first child and £16.95 for each additional child. Find it astonishing, I have to tell you, a government minister, that. As we're talking money, when the story broke yesterday concerning the Conservative donor Frank Hester, there hadn't been a lot of notice, but I put it to your colleague Mel Stride.
Well, this is very recent news to me, Nick, and as I think we said and made very clear at the time, that racist remarks are utterly, utterly unacceptable. One of the biggest the greatest sense of pride that I've had serving in our cabinet, amongst other matters, is the fact that it has been one of the most diverse cabinets, in fact, the most diverse cabinet in our history.
Minister, 24 hours on, do we know whether Conservatives will hand back these many millions of pounds?
I don't believe there's a plan to do that. I think Mr. Hester's comments were discussed at the time. He apologised. He said he was deeply sorry for them. The Prime Minister was clear that they were completely wrong. Mr. Hester himself said racism has no place in our society.
Right.
And the view was taken that he'd given a fulsome apology and should be forgiven.
But I mean, we now learn staff are coming forward. He's referred to staff as, and I quote here, the token Muslim. He imitates people of Chinese descent by pulling his eyes in a certain direction. And he said that one individual was attractive for a black woman. You're happy to take this cash, are you, Minister?
Well, Nick, I've seen that story this morning, the same as you have. I don't know what the truth is. Those are allegations at this moment. The bit we do know, because Mr. Hester himself apologised for it, is the comments that were reported earlier in the year, which he rightly apologised for because they were completely unacceptable.
Lastly, on the subject of apologies, it's reported that the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, left part of the D-Day ceremonies yesterday to come back to the UK to record a TV interview. Should he apologise for that?
He has, in fact, apologised within the last few minutes, Nick. He said that it was a mistake to leave those commemorations early. And the last thing he wanted was politics to overshadow that important moment.
Grateful for your time. David Johnston is Minister for Children, Families and Wellbeing, talking about this announcement. Around 700,000 families to get a £1,500 boost over those reforms.